This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
You know how sometimes the first play of the game can be a real tone setter?
Aussie.
Yeah, I basically just went with Ashton Jen Teabag.
NFL.
He's not a walking 7 for 70 as I learned last week when he went 1 for 5.
Fantasy.
I'd probably lean towards taking Henry maybe ahead of McCaffrey just because of what I've seen.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Loading.
Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back. For the Aussie Gridiron Network, this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. They call me Matty C, and we are just 1 week short of kickoff and seeing our teams roll up some points for the first time since 2024's fantasy seasons came to a close. Joining me for this last dalliance through a compass and all the divisions there under in our season previews this year is Australia's finest fantasy analyst. And no, it's not Taylor Goodall. This week, Australia's finest fantasy analyst, this is going to be as voted by you, I reckon, by the time we put a poll up about this. I've got KEV the CROC HUNTER Patterson. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, Matty. I thought you were looking for an anal cyst, but I can do analyst as well. We'll make it work.
Yeah, that was a typo. I'm sorry, mate, but I'm glad you still stuck your hand up. That was impressive.
Man of many talents some days.
Mate, I don't doubt it. Thank you so much for stepping into the breach on pretty short notice as well. Taylor, looking forward to the show. And some circumstances changed, and immediately, Crocodile Hunter, he's got his arm up saying, mate, coach, put me in the game. So thank you so much for doing this on such short notice with really no warning. I could not ask for a better co-pilot to go through this one with.
No, that's all right, Matty. When Taylor messaged me, I thought he was going to try and start another argument about running backs or something, but, I'm quite happy to jump on and argue with you instead.
Definitely. We have been known to have our blues, mate, and I love it. Absolutely love it. We are going to go through a whole bunch of players through the AFC West today. We've got a great special guest to do that with. Before we do, though, Kev, there's actually a few things going on in the network. You're very well aware of it. We've got it was going to be 1, now it's 4 Aussie NFL Fantasy Show listener leagues. We've drafted all of them now, and I've started the smack talk in some of those leagues already. It's going to be great. We have an AGN tipping competition. The winner of the AGN tipping competition is going to get a custom jersey of any NFL player they want. Kev, you've signed up to that one?
Yeah, Matty, I have. I can't wait to get my Theo Johnson New York Giants jersey.
I reckon outside the Johnson family, you're the only person getting that.
Probably. I know Taylor started to buy some shares on Theo Island.
He has. I noticed he built a little shack on the corner, mate. It's good to see. Very good to see. The other great thing that's happening across the network, and this has kind of come out of almost nowhere, Taylor managed to secure $0 of funding to start up the NFL Supercoach Halfer, and we run that every week on a Thursday here on the network now. It's all of a sudden become one of the more popular shows on the network, just like that. Great for people who've played Supercoach in the NRL or Aussie Rules background, who are just looking to adopt the NFL mindset. But also, we've had great feedback from folks who are NFL fantasy fans who've kind of come in and gone, mate, didn't really get Supercoach, didn't really understand what the salary capping is like and how all that works. So if you find yourself in either one of those camps and you want to give NFL Supercoach a bash, check Taylor out on a Thursday. That's right here on the Aussie Gridiron Network. There's a little bit of news out in the world this week, Kev. I need to ask you about a big signing in Kansas City. Travis Kelce signed Taylor Swift to be, I think it was a lifelong contract, mate. How do you think that impacts their fantasy value?
Oh, mate, it can only help, can't it? Like, go out on a high for the wedding before the honeymoon, because I still think this is his last season. I think my missus was more excited than I was. I was just like, okay, cool. She had the New Heights podcast on the TV when I got home the day that Taylor was on there. So,
oh, okay. So she's a hardcore Trekkie. Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't mind a bit of tay-tay.
Yeah, fair enough. Mate, I think this is the same thing. I just kind of think it solidifies it's probably Travis's last run. I also sort of hope that whatever happens here, it just gives Taylor some new shit to write about, because she's kind of been out of songs for a few years and those last couple of albums. So hopefully if she's also not going to retire, this gives her a bit new fodder. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, hope so. Like I'm a bit prefer the older music, whether it's Tay's old stuff, Eminem's old stuff. Like most of the newer songs I just don't really get behind as much as I did the originals. So it's a bit of a spark into it.
It's times like this, though, I start saying things like that. I just sound like my dad. I just sound like my dad. Oh, yeah, I liked this is a bit of a revival. I like the original. Or, no, this band, they're not the same as they were on the early albums. I can hear my old father coming out of my mouth, mate. It's...
Yeah, I think we all hit that point. We don't even realise it.
It's disconcerting. But the other big bit of news, and I'm wearing my self-styled commies shirt tonight, because it used to say a word on there that it's not meant to say anymore. The Washington side went out and signed only probably the best player on their roster that was in any doubt. Terry McLaurin goes and signs a big 3-year contract, lots of money in it. He's not the youngest wide receiver out there, but he gets, the whole boat. After the DK Metcalf deal, we weren't sure that Terry was going to get as much money he was hoping. He gets more than we thought.
Yeah,
what did you make of it?
96. Yeah, it was good, mate. They had to do it. I know people were worried he was going to be traded and that, but there was no way they were going to trade him. There was no way they were not going to pay him. They were just kicking the can down the road trying to find a resolution. But if they had traded him or decided to go in the season with him still on holdout, like that tanks a lot of that Washington team's value and offense, really.
Right. I mean, what's the world look like if they didn't get that deal done? They're going into the season with Debo and Noah Brown, maybe? Like, I don't even know what you do there.
Well, they also had Luke McCaffrey, don't forget. They could just probably rename him Christian Luke McCaffrey and hope people get excited.
Yeah, gee, I should have dragged him out on the auction draft the other day and see who put some money up for that McCaffrey.
We did that. We did that one year. Like every NBA draft, we put Seth Curry up instead of Steph. And once people get to like $30 on him, be like, oh, fuck.
Very famously, I've drafted the wrong D. Johnston in the third round of a league before and ended up with Duke Johnson instead of David Johnson. So I am not immune from acts of absolute abhorrent stupidity. It can happen to anybody.
Like I made the drafted Brian Robinson 1.01 instead of Bijan.
Oh, I don't know if there's any coming back from that.
No, there's not.
Well, so we think it's good news at Washington. This is going to save a lot of conjecture and strife. One thing that I know people will be talking about is, having not seen McLaurin on a football field for a while, will he be rusty to start? I guess we'll find out.
He might be, but if he is, it's just a buy low candidate. But yeah, he's good.
Mate, I reckon we are looking down the barrel of a pretty good night. We're going to go through the entire AFC East tonight. It's going to be great. We'll go through all of that. We have a special guest to bring on in just a moment's time. And then for the rest of the week too, we're actually going to drag in a mailbag on the Sunday show. And then we'll go through the entire NFC East. Great thing is we're going from worst to first in these divisions. We'll get to finish with some pretty great looking teams in that NFC, which will be great because we've definitely going to go through some mirth to kick off tonight. Some also Rands. Do you reckon we should bring in our guest?
I think we should, mate. He's the better one, isn't he?
G'day, Gridiron.
Anyone that hasn't joined us before, it's pretty simple. Let's kick it off, eh? Is everyone ready?
The four horsemen of NFL in Australia.
If the sound ever plays, the picture's officially in.
Nick the lineman.
So it's the worst against any team, and it's also the worst passer rating that he has against any team at 66.3.
Brad the coach.
The Steelers have held the Ravens under 20 points in 7 straight games.
Isaac the analyst.
For this one, I couldn't understand it either. Like, I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Ian the Viking.
Full of passion, full of fight. They might genuinely be interesting to watch again.
Previews, overreactions, and bloody best bets.
If Derrick Henry can get rolling, then I think it's no contest. The Ravens are going to win.
As a fan of the NFL, you hope he comes back because he's just an absolute beast when he gets on there.
That would be able to give, at least Justin Fields a chance to be able to build.
Let's move on. After that insanity.
So I just think, though, it's going to stop here.
Defensively for the Bills, I don't think that's actually going to combat what the Chiefs do already.
Yeah, I guarantee Pete would get down on his knees for that.
G'day, Gridiron.
I love spreadsheets. I'm a spreadsheet man.
I love spreading my legs.
Twice a week, all season long on the Aussie Gridiron Network.
We arrive at our final trip on a compass point to the east with my special guest tonight is going to fill a space that I've actually used this word and superlative for a lot of people who come through the show over time. I say, this guy's my brother from this or that. This guy actually is my familial brother. This poor sucker had to grow up in the same bedroom as me for a lot of years. I don't know how he's got any hearing left. And as it is now too, even in adult life, he's found himself in a couple of the same circles as me and spends probably more time with or around me than most people should have to endure. So I'm going to welcome into the show my brother, Danny Connor. How are you, mate?
How are you doing, guys? Yeah, how are you doing? I grew up in the same womb as well, I think. Yeah.
I didn't need to think about that, but okay.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. I think I might need to sign up to that competition so I can win myself a Michael Gallup Commanders jersey. I think he got cut at the start of the week, so, I'm not sure about, he comes out of retirement only to get cut. Never happened to John Barnum, did it?
No, that guy, he just never quit.
Yeah, could you just imagine, the last time tour for the third time and then no one turns up? Yeah, wouldn't happen to him.
Would never happen. I still think you should get a Gallup jersey anyway. It'd just be fun. Like,
it's probably a bit too deep for a cut.
I don't know. Yeah, there'd be two people in the entire ACT who'd laugh about it. We also shared the same surname and shared the same womb, apparently. So there you go. Mate, you have found yourself just in recent times. You've played a bunch of fantasy, right? You've been around fantasy for a bunch of years. We've played in different leagues over time. When did you first kind of pick it up?
Well, I guess being your brother helps getting indoctrinated into the fantasy sort of family. But I guess the first game of football I watched was the 2001 Super Bowl. Well, Super Bowl at the end of the 2000 season, the Ravens-Giants one. I remember it very well because it was on SBS for some reason, and they had a panel of hosts that were, for some reason, because they decided they need to have hosts during the ad breaks. And so it was led host by Don Lane, co-hosted by Ed White, who was the SBS sport correspondent at the time, and the third panel member you think would be sort of like a ex-player, so Colin Scott's Eat Your Heart Out. No, they went with Vince Sorrenti, racist comic from the old footy show days. Anyway.
Oh my God!
Yeah, exactly. And I remember Don Lane trying to bring Vince into the mix. At the start of the game, they're panning along the back of the Ravens who were kicking off, and Don Lane goes, "Vince, you're like the kickers. They're all got Italian surnames." And they pull up, and the kicker's Matt Stover, and he's like, "Oh, except that guy." And Vince Sorrenti, the good teammate, just chips in and goes, "Oh wait, my nonna used to cook on a Stover." So I think that's the kind of that's just a good teammate. Vince
right there.
Sorrenti.
Right there, he took one for the team.
Scott didn't get much better from there. But yeah, I guess from there, shared a house, shared a brother. We just sort of interested in football ever since then. And you bring me into fantasy every once in a while. I've probably been more in the sort of daily sort of fantasy out of anything, just because I like the non-commitment out of that. If you pick a bad team one week and it sucks, you can just get rid of everyone, start again. And then if you have a month of bad luck, you can just have at it, just get rid of it and not have to think about it for another 12 months if you want to. So that's probably where I've been sort of dabbling my skills recently. But, not many better ways to keep a spreadsheet than filling it with fantasy football and statistics and numbers. So it's a great way to flex your Excel spreadsheet muscles.
Kev, if there's one thing people know about Connors, mate, we love a spreadsheet, mate. That's manna from heaven.
I think that's what locked me in, to be honest. It's just I get to keep a spreadsheet. Oh, look at all this.
Look at all these Excel columns.
Pivot table. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy's going to need to teach me a bit about pivot tables actually for the Super Coach show. But actually, I've spent a bunch of time with Dan over time with Daly, and it turns out I really suck at that. So I probably need to spend more time with you, Dan. But it's kind of cool. We've played a couple of season-long leagues. In fact, I think it was one year where you and I were in a league together where you ended up going on and winning it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's sort of I think that might have been 2019, and then really picked up a lot of single team, whatever, whole season sort of stuff since then until sort of this season. So, it's just good to be back in it. A bit more permanency, but we'll see how frustrated I get come week 6.
What's going to be fantastic about this too, Kev, is, that league that Taylor and I shit on about, the Astro League at 16 teams. It's half PPR. There's only 4 bench spots. Poor Dan has inherited one of those teams this year. We have very slow churn. It's a high retention league, but one of our founding members has finally decided he's off starting a family, that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, lads, I'm out. Like, I know who to ask. And this poor sucker said, I'm in. And he did the draft on the weekend. And I think if you can do a 13-round, 16-team draft, you'll be fine on a podcast for a standard 10-team league. This guy, in that 13th round, there is not a lot going on, is there, mate?
No, there isn't. Like, it's sort of like nearly just left. What a rough that. What was the point?
Yeah, 206 is an unattractive person left at the bar. But he's now in a spot, Kev, where I think you can probably get your claws into him and then all of a sudden turn him into one of us degenerates, mate. He's definitely...
You're in one league. How do you feel about 16?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys Michael Gallup in.
What I do with folks who come through the show, Kev, you've had to survive this not once, but twice, is we do a segment with our new guest called 5 Questions from 2 Decades. Generally, this is a segment where Tay and I alternate the questions, but without Tay, I'm not going to make Kev have to pick up the Tay bit on this one. I'll ask the questions here, Dan. It's, the 5 questions are stock standard. Every new guest gets the same 5 questions. Kev, do you remember how you went sailing this segment the first time?
Yeah, mate, I was a bit prepared, though, because I'd been listening all year. So I kind of had the answers in my head a bit, but I think the Tinder one still kind of stumped me because I forgot what I had planned for it. But, yeah, we just flew off the hip with that and it went all right, I think.
Yeah. And Dan, I don't know, he's prepared for this at all. I don't think he had any clue that this was going to happen.
Yeah, Matt knows that I'm not listening to his podcast after 30-odd years of having to put up with him. I am not putting him in my ears while I walk the dog or fall asleep. So he knows he's got me.
That is not an incorrect answer, by the way. That is absolutely... I think any therapist would say, wise. But, mate, the 5 questions are stock standard. So there is a body of work of what people have come up with. And if you are really stuck, I might give you a little nudge along the way. But the first question, our 5 questions, is generally it's a soft pitch. It's just to, lull you into false sense of security. What do you think is something that most people don't know about you that people might find interesting?
Oh, dude, I'm not ready for this.
You're going to hate the next 4.
Yeah, well, it's not interesting, but I'm trying to become a lawn nerd in my spare time. I'm a spreadsheeting lawn nerd. That's me. I'm not sure if that's interesting, but it's something. It's, yeah.
How do you find yourself in that position? What leads you there?
Oh, well, you buy a house, you get a lawn, and you just think, it'd be nice if this was green. And then once it goes green, it'd be nice if it wasn't full of weeds. And then, it'd be nice if it had stripes in it. Maybe it'll make it look like Wembley or something like that. And then you just sort of it's a slope. It's a slippery slope, but that's, I guess, how I got there.
All right. Okay, so I think you've done all right on that one. A lawn aficionado, strange little lawn nerd all of a sudden. If you're in apocalypse, would you rather be facing aliens or zombies?
Or zombies. Just the zombies. Aliens are going to have alien technology, man. And then if you get called the probing, oh, good Lord, the probing.
Well, some would see that as a plus.
Well, yeah. Yes, that's a good point.
After you telling me about your sports teams, maybe you're one of them.
Yeah, maybe. No, yeah, well, that's pretty, with zombies, they can't run. Have you seen a zombie run? Nah. So that would be it. That's the obvious choice.
The little curveball someone gave us last year about this one was that at least with aliens, they kind of know what they're up against. Where with a zombie, they may actually find themselves in a position where one of the people who they've now stands between them and their own mortality is the zombie of someone who used to be one of their nearest and dearest, and finding that a real moral quandary. Is that something you would sort of factor in now? Would that change your stance? I just kind of like playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't really want to live, be a survivor in some sort of apocalyptic situation. Just end me. So maybe I'm better off going with the aliens because, if I integrate into their society, at least there's a society there. Whereas zombies, I think it's pretty much over. So I don't know. I'm back on the fence. Both.
Okay, but it was zombies easily, and now that I've said you could have to finish the zombie of mum, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know. That person's dead. That's fine. I can make that leap. It's more if I'm just fighting zombies for the rest of my life, and there's just sort of nothing like no agriculture. How are you like?
The lawn guy is back.
Who's going to run out?
We invited the lawn guy. I love how you're on brand. You're just so on brand. It's amazing. I think we might have to chalk you up for zombies, although it sounded like you were zombie leaning, mate.
I think, if if I had to pick one to fight, it would be zombies. So we'll go with
that. Okay. Who is your favourite NFL team?
Oh, well, that's the easier one. Gosh, I swap those around for sure. So my team is the Washington Commanders. It's appropriate jersey wearer there, Matthew.
Yes.
Yeah, pick them. I think because I didn't really have a team sort of around the 2010s, so I got an old copy of like Madden 07 or something like that, and just randomly selected through the teams. Hit it a couple of times and sort of landed on the Commanders. Like, oh yeah, I live in the capital here, so it makes why not? Obviously they had not too great name then, but now they've updated it.
It took ages to get used to calling them just the Washington football team, and now I still find myself going the commies. Yeah, there you go. It takes a sec.
The C-bombs, yeah.
So, you've run into them in more recent times, and they haven't always been fantastic. When did you kind of realise the team you picked sucks?
That was part of the criteria randomly scrolling through. I didn't want to buy in at the top. So part of it was, if they suck now or at the time, then, at some point it will get better. And I guess that's sort of where we're at now.
Kev, are you hearing this? This is buying signals as a dynasty degenerate. Listen to this guy. He wants to rebuild.
Yeah,
Mate, that is a man after my own heart right there.
Yeah.
I'm used to taking over orphans that have nothing, mostly not even their own draft picks, and just sitting there looking at 8th round fucking rookies and going like, geez, I hope you get some playing time this year. For about 3 years till you start to get your own picks back from the guy that screwed the team and left.
I think this may end up being something that would actually appeal to you too, Dan. I know that it probably sounds a little far-fetched now, but just I know there's a builder in you, and if you select your teams based on, mate, I'm not picking no Patriots, I'm not picking no Green Bay Packers, certainly don't pick Green Bay Packers if you're around Kev. I've also made this realization that everywhere where I've chosen my own sports allegiance, they've all been horrible teams, haven't they? Like Central Coast Mariners, they're the poorest club in the A-League. Yeah. Right, the Jags, not great. Whereas my choice, I choose poorly.
Yeah.
Clearly genetic.
Yeah, just a bit dirty, just buying it at the top. But
yeah, it just makes it hard work. I mean, it just means that you know that you're a sucker for punishment. This is why I think you'd be an excellent dynasty head, Kev. We're going to get our claws into him. But this one is probably the trickiest of them all. Kev did foreskin this one a little before as well, kind of let a little cat out of the bag. What would be on your NFL Tinder profile to try and lure a potential mate?
Oh, I mean, I'm sort of the age where I did have a Tinder profile.
Yeah.
And it was like pizza lover and ceiling fan. It was like ceiling fan, and that was sort of it. So I don't know.
Mate, that'll lure him in, that right there.
Yeah. I think one of the terms I like in fantasy is talking about the turn, so I'd have to have something about the turn.
Okay.
I feel like talking about the turn just gets me. It's just really fun to say, if anything. Oh yeah, getting this at the turn. So I don't know, something about the turn.
Like a turn with Dan.
This is why you've got AI, isn't it? You just put.
Okay, bash into AI. Let's see. Let's do this. Have you got some chat GPT? Let's do this.
Yeah, let's find that.
The magic of radio here. We will make this much shorter of a period of time. It will have happened in 3 seconds.
All right, here we go. I'm like the turn in fantasy drafts. If you miss me once, you don't get another shot for a while. That doesn't really make sense because you do get the second shot. So if you miss me once, you'll get another shot. How about that?
Hey, there we go. Hey, thank you.
So, next time you can just have AI Daniel on your show.
Man, I love that. I think AI Daniel might have saved actual Daniel there. Mate, last one of the 5 questions is a much simpler one. Like, you've been playing fantasy in different variations for a while. Who's your favourite NFL fantasy player ever?
It's got to be McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey. That's too easy.
That's it?
No, I mean, what else is to say? Like, I picked him up second in a, like, I've only done a couple of fantasy seasons, so he was instrumental in that season that I won a couple of years back. So I like to be him.
It's kind of interesting. Like, a lot of people's answers are a guy like CMC who won him a league. Whereas, like mine, I think I said was Gronk, just because the value at tight end that he provided compared to everyone else. Like, he was one of my favourite guys to grab each year because you knew he was just going to score you a fucking shitload of points compared to most other tight ends week in, week out.
Well, yeah, that was the other thing. The season before, he destroyed me in the week I came up against him. So I was like, chalk that one up in the old memory bank.
I just got torched by this tiny little white running back. What the hell just happened?
All right. And then, there he is, pick 2. Thank you very much, off the board.
Yeah. Mate, just on that then, because this year he's coming back from a pretty significant injury. You like him to CMC this year? Do you think he's likely to go back to the glory days, or potentially they passed him by? How do you feel about him?
Look, I like the idea of having him because it's sort of like that. Either be back to his, either you've gone early on him, and he's either going to play 15, 16, 17 games and destroy, or you'll play like 6 and you'll be tanked. So it's just sort of like you're either going to be in with a chance or you just season's dead. So that's kind of.
I think he's actually moved him up in my rankings after Brian Robinson signed as well, just because I think they've talked about using him in the slot a lot more, and you can use Brian Robinson to kind of crash those short yardage situations and take a bit of wear and tear off him. I think he's probably going to see a lot more receiving work this year than years past as well, especially because of the amount of injuries that the bloody Niners have in the wide receiver room at the moment too.
I see. This is the value of having Kev. I wasn't 100% sure what to make of the Brian Robinson move as it was getting announced last week. And the more I thought about it, the more I think, to me, that doesn't actually impact McCaffrey. It hurts Robinson because I think any volume he was expecting to get at Washington is a little bit more depleted. And it just means you can do more things with CMC if you're not relying on him to just pound the rock as the only guy. So kind of landed in a bit of a similar spot. Mate, you have survived the 5 questions. Thank you very much for playing. All competitors win absolutely nothing at that, except for a little bit of shame. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah. No, thank you for springing that on me completely unguided. But
this guy is known for like 6 weeks. I wanted to get him on the show, and I have not mentioned this facet at all, Kev, because that is what is supposed to happen.
That's it. The best answers are the ones no one expects.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
All right, about time you cut to me there, Matty. Thank you very much.
And force getting yet another dick joke.
I'm no gorilla, but I'm taking the one-on-one.
Zombies, because I don't want to be probed.
Why don't you tell me, Matty? Why don't you tell me?
Can I swear on this podcast as well?
I reckon Manjot's mum would towel us up, though.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
All right, so we're going to dive into the AFC East. This division last year in NFL terms, not terrific. Probably a bit of a letdown when you come to think of what people were hoping for out of the Jets, what people were expecting from the Dolphins. Not sure what people thought the ceiling was going to be like for the Patriots, but they find themselves at the floor of this division. We're going to start there. Kev, I know you're the right person to talk to about the quarterback situation in New England because you're one of the very first people who I met, who had much positive sentiment about Drake May as a fantasy asset. He is their quarterback going to this season. How do you feel about him this year? Where are you looking to draft him? If you're looking to draft him, what kind of league?
Mate, I'm taking him in single QB and Superflex. Obviously, I have him ranked inside my top 10. I think a lot of people sleep on him last year. Yeah, so last year he had 421 rushing yards, which out of all quarterbacks with a minimum of 20 attempts, he's 7.8 yards per carry, ranked first. Wow. He had massive rushing upside at UNC. I think he could get 600-700 rushing yards this year easy if he plays a full season. Plus, he's got a very good arm as well. And Mike, who's the new coach there?
Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel, that's it, not Mike McDaniel. Yeah, and we've seen him run a team in an offense before. They've got Josh McDaniels back there. I'm 110% all in on him. It's like if you were just going to wait on QB, I'd rather take him than a lot of the guys going ahead of him like Kyler Murray and that, because I think his upside's higher.
I mean, at 600, 700 yards, that puts him right near the very tippy top of rushing yards for a quarterback across all quarterbacks, including the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, the Jaden Daniels. There's all these guys who are in that top echelon. So what you're saying here, to me, where I'm picking this up, is that not only do you think people are sleeping on him at his value as it is, but that he's kind of got this, he could break into that kind of top 5 sort of upside. Because, I mean, those are the guys we're talking about with that kind of running volume.
That's it. His 421 yards came in, 8 or 9 games last year. Like, imagine that over 18. The upside is absolutely massive for Drake May. He had a really good connection with a couple of guys we're going to talk about later, and he gets Stephon Diggs and a couple of new wide receivers and a new offensive line as well. Like, yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him. He can't finish worse than where he's being drafted, basically, is how I see it.
Now, Dan, did you catch a couple of Patriots games last year? To me, it kind of looked more like Drake May was running for his life than it being a bit scheduled. How do you feel about Drake May?
Yeah, look, I don't hate Drake May. I think I think he'll make a nice leap with Vrabel and McDaniels, as Kev sort of brought up. And Vrabel sort of run an offense before and it's been sort of run heavy, so that will probably see him sort of with the sort of QB design runs sort of get out there as well. Sort of the games I saw of him, he did sort of throw some dumb picks. So that might be sort of still in the still in his being. So it'll be interesting to see if he starts turning the ball over a lot, how much Vrabel lets him pass. But there's good things there, and I certainly I seem to remember Tannehill playing some playoff games and only passing something like 9 times or something like that. So that's what's in my head. So yeah, I think I'm not out of him. I think I'm looking at some of these projection lists and I see he's below Bo Nix, and I sort of I just think that he's probably a better quarterback than Bo Nix. So there's one person who can go ahead. Brock Purdy could be anything.
Yeah.
He may skyrocket up the rankings.
He is getting ranked across the major sites in that. I've seen him as high as 11 on Sleeper, as low as 17 on NFL Fantasy, and then kind of in between on the bigger sites, the rest of the bigger sites. So it kind of puts him in that 15-ish kind of range. It means he's probably going to be free in a standard 10-team league, that he can be your last pick if you're going to go first or worst strategy there. But look, if Kev's to be believed, and I think there's reasons to think that he should outperform most things you saw from him last year, that he will return better value than he's getting drafted at. But I guess it just depends on your intestinal fortitude after seeing what New England were last year. But Kev, not only do they have new coaching regime, they went out and invested nicely in that offensive line, but they went and for the first time that I can remember, they've got a pretty big play running back. Talk to me about Travion Henderson there and what you think his role is going to be like.
Mate, I am huge on Travion Henderson. Pre-draft, he was my number 2 running back behind, what's his name? Ashton Genty. I am super big on him, especially as a pass-catching back. And, people are a bit worried about Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not worried about Ramondre at all. He fumbled a lot last year. They handed the duties over to someone halfway through a game to just try and get it away from him at some points. Basically here, I think he's an absolute huge home run play down the stretch as far as heading towards fantasy finals, and that if he's found his groove, you're basically looking at a guy that could potentially be a league winner.
Maybe. I mean, he's getting drafted at the moment in about the 5th round. And I think what we're saying there is, okay, most people aren't going to be drafting him as their running back 1. Probably plenty of people will have a punt on him as his running back 2. And depending on how you're built, you might be fortunate enough to pick him up as your running back 3 and he's a flex option and you're not reliant on him. Hey, Dan, have you done some drafting? Have you had a look at where he falls when you do some drafts?
Oh, look, I think he's a must-have in your Supercoach team. Like, I think he's, him and Genty, obviously. But, yeah, I think, everyone's raving about him. I think he seems to, have a lot of energy behind him. So it does seem that he'll sort of like, who knows where the snap rate sort of sits early in the year, but definitely, as Kev sort of raised, heading into playoffs and whatever, he might just sort of take over that sort of like full-time role as sort of the key back for New England. And by the time, your playoffs comes around, you'll if you've got Travion sort of sitting there in your RB2 flex spot, you'll be laughing.
Dan, you bring up an excellent point. In Supercoach, Taylor and I said last week, there are 3 rookie running backs we think you can take your brain out, put these guys in, feel great. Omarion Hampton was the other one behind Ashton Genty and Travion Henderson because we think they are all likely to get enough volume that they will build cash, they'll score points. You probably don't need to put this guy in your starting lineup, but he will be a cash cow because he will see enough volume to always beat his break even. He'll make you money. So that was our take on Travion Henderson. You make an excellent point bringing that one up. Is there anybody else in this backfield, Kev, we should keep an eye out for? Because Ramondre, he sort of seems like cold product. He's down in the late 30s.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about Ramondre at all. I'm quite happy with just letting him go undrafted in leagues. I think if he does have any value, it's going to be early in the season. The drop-off's going to come fast if you don't get out of him quick enough.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. The wide receivers have had a bit of an overhaul there too, because while they had Pop Douglas doing some cool stuff last year, he was kind of doing it on his own a bit. They've gone and got some good names in there now. Stephon Diggs, they went and drafted a lovely rookie named Kyle Williams. Although Stephon Diggs now, what is he, 32 and coming off a pretty horrendous knee injury. He is getting currently drafted in that late 30s range, which puts him in around about an 8th round pick. 7th to 8th round pick in a standard 10-team league. Do you think that represents value, Kev, or should we just kind of jog on from Stephon?
Look, I'm happy to take a shot on him. I'm not 100% sold. I think I'd rather take a shot on Pop Douglas still. He had a bit of a connection with Drake May there last year towards the end, and he's going in roughly the same range. Stephon Diggs is still Stephon Diggs. You saw him produce last year before he got hurt. But I think the drop-off's going to come, and it's going to come fast. But, he's not a bad pick where he's going, Matty. He's probably going to have some pretty good weeks from time to time, but it's just hard to really put a value on him. I think there's guys in that range I'd rather take and then grab Pop Douglas and Hunter Henry later on if I wanted some pass catches in this offense.
Oh, my gosh. The way he started last year at Houston, I wasn't quite sure what to make of the whole Stephon Diggs thing. Then knee is just completely messed up. He ends up now in a team where we don't know what their passing ceiling is going to look like. But Dan, did I see you take Stephon Diggs in the Astro League draft?
Yeah, so I've got Diggs in the 16-teamer. Just stuck him in my flex spot. We've seen what he can do. And he's coming off an injury, but that's, it's speculative that he may not perform where he has been. It's probably more likely to really see that sort of production and those sort of numbers coming out of the injury than he is to not do that. So I think it's still worth a flyer sort of on.
But you're not paying like the wide receiver 18 you were for him last year. You're paying wide receiver 30 now, so it's a perfectly fine shot to take if you need someone for a flex spot. Yeah. And you can always sub him in and out if his production starts to dip anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So he's not probably top 30 wide receivers at the moment. He probably sits somewhere in that sort of 30 to 40 spot.
Yeah, and I mean, if people are drafting him in that, closer to 40 range, Dan, you would have got him as a pick in the mid to late 80s overall in that draft. He would have been about a 6th round pick. And in a league that size, wide receiver 32 is a wide receiver 2. Like, because of the depth of that league. No one is thinking that he's going to be a wide receiver 2 for them now. He's not getting drafted that way. But we've seen he's got some pedigree, he's got some experience, and as long as the knee holds up, he should get relatively good service. We're saying Drake May should be a grown-up this year and have learned a lot from last year and have some support. Stephon Diggs is part of that support. So can I see him out producing that, that ADP and where you're drafting him 1,000,000%. And I'm kind of going to get to ride some of this with Dan because I'm sure we'll be in contact a heap through the year with how your Astro League team performs. So it's kind of nice to have a vicarious share because I haven't had the balls to take him anywhere myself. So there you go.
I just want to know, Dan, has Matty started trash talking in the Astro League like he has in every other league? Like, just fantastic trash talk.
Last night I started trash talking every league, didn't I?
One shot fired across the bow, but
yeah.
I mean,
your team is not superior to mine. Thanks.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Ryan's team sucks monkey nuts was the one I went for in the Astros. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally trash talk. Yeah.
Well, with 85% of what comes out of my mouth. So consistency is king. The other wide receivers in this offense we've mentioned are Kyle Williams and Pop Demario Douglas. They are both across major sites. If you can find one that ranks any of them inside their top 60, it's because they are a site that ranks deeper than 50. There aren't a lot of them. So what it means there is like you're going to be able to pick any of them up as soon as you see targets. This is the thing I think is the most indicative part of fantasy football is touches and targets because they are prescriptive of opportunity. Any idiot who gets some opportunity can score you points. The most skillful guy in the world with no opportunity doesn't score you points. So keep your eye on that in the early rounds with the Patriots. Who's getting targets? Because if somebody is getting some targets, no one owns them, and you've got a cuttable guy on your roster. That is a worthwhile move. The tight end position, I've already heard Kev mention this sexy man's name, Hunter Henry. It's fun to say because is it two first names? Always a crowd pleaser there, but also they're both H's. I can't resist. I've seen him going around about tight end 16 everywhere, except I'm a little hotter than that. I put him at 13, Kev, and I feel like you might even be hotter than me.
Oh, yeah, Matty. Actually, I'm at 13 as well.
There you go. I knew you were hotter than consensus. I knew it.
I did have him at 11, but then I think I moved Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland up. So he just kind of took a little bit of a dip there for me. But I still think, like, he smashes his value every year. Every year he gets drafted in, like, the 15 to 25 range, and every year he's fringe top 12. Like, he just produces and consistent and gets forgotten about every year on year.
Hey, Dan, you've seen a bunch of Hunter Henry over time. Any chance you're going to own him anywhere or give him a fly in a daily?
Probably not. Like my
honesty is key.
Yeah. Like, but that's just sort of my fantasy sort of ethos is to like that's a single position player. You sort of go try and get one who scores a lot of points because that's could be giving away some 50% points on someone else getting sort of your Kittles or your Bowers or McBrides. So
Dan's not a wait on the onesie guy. He's a go the onesie early.
Yeah, that's me. But like I was saying before, like if Vrabel and McDaniels want to reel in May at any point, like Henry's there, he can be like a little check down option if needed. So like there's probably some value there if we think that the Patriots offense is going to be singing this year.
I think, Dan, too, like, say, if you've grabbed George Kittle or one of those top guys, Hunter Henry's a great guy to have for the bye week as well because he's got a safe floor week in, week out. Like, as your tight end too, or a waiver wire streaming option if he's still in the waiver wire.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about Hunter Henry. If you need 7 points, he'll score you 7 points. If you need 17 points, he'll score you 7 points. Like, so you know what you're going to get out of Hunter Henry. Is there anybody else who's worth a late round flyer here for the Patriots we haven't mentioned, Kev?
Yeah, Demario Douglas, mate. I said before, I'm quite happy to grab a share of him. Early on the year, I was really high on Kyle Williams. I don't think it's quite there yet, looking at the way he went in preseason. So he'd be a guy I'll be keeping an eye on through the year. He starts to run some more routes and get a few more targets because he profiles as a really good ex-receiver, outside, down the line. Got good speed. So, yeah, that just basically those two. They're two that I'd be keeping an eye on in this offense.
And I think with that, we can say Au revoir to the Patriots and move on to a fantastic football team. No, we'll do that later. We'll go to the Jets now. The Jets are the team who they managed to one extra win. I had you for a sec there, Kev. We think there is a lot of fantasy value in the Jets, though, and I think it all starts with their quarterback because their quarterback play was pretty stagnant last year. Aaron Rodgers was not moving very well, and he was having trouble connecting. But we think Justin Fields unlocks some new stuff. I have him ranked at 11. He's ranked across major sites at 11. I have him ranked at 9. Kev, I know that you're into Justin Fields.
Yeah, mate. I've got him at 6. Basically, fantasy points per game. He's been a top 6 QB ever since he stepped foot in the league. Massive rushing upside potential. Their new coach, Aaron Glenn, was a Lions defensive coordinator who watched Fields tear him up on the ground week in, week out. I've got to imagine he is salivating at the idea of just unleashing him. And people that are worried about his passing and that, like he had that huge year with DJ Moore. Even the year before that, if you look, Darnell Mooney had probably his best season with Fields. He really likes to feed his number one target, and it's his number one target from college, like Garrett Wilson. So to me, I think he's an absolute steal where he's going. I'm not reaching for him before like top 6 or 7 QBs, but as soon as somebody grabs Baker Mayfield, that's when I'm putting him in my queue to have a look to grab him.
I thought I was going to own a lot of Justin Fields at the start of this year because I really thought I was onto something other people weren't. As the preseason's gone on, people seem to really love a bit of Justin Fields too. Rushing quarterback, Dan. Do you like owning rushing quarterbacks?
Yes, I do. And, we've seen the proof of concept of Fields, for one season, a couple of seasons back. So I guess it's there. He's getting you'll get a lot of opportunity this year to put up some numbers. And, I think the Jets go with sort of a run-heavy offense. That's probably going to play into Fields' hands, I think.
Mm. The player who's going to be in that backfield, and I think this is great when you have a mobile quarterback, is we know this is proof of concept, and this is something we've seen year after year, and it doesn't matter how agile or how sloth-like your first back there is. We've seen guys as agile as Alfred Morris have 5.0 yard per carry seasons because they're next to a quarterback who can shift a pocket, who makes the linebacker stop in their spot for a second. I think this goes to help Breece Hall. Weirdly, this time last year, you could have had Breece Hall number 1 overall if you wanted. No one would have said, ooh. This year, Breece Hall not as in love across the board. He has been ranked everywhere from 12 to about 18. Dan, how do you feel about him this year?
Look, I think there's probably a bit of shine off the name of Breece Hall in the last couple of seasons, maybe since he picked up that injury. He's not been sort of someone I've looked to target at any point. I think there's probably better options around. I mean, not necessarily in the Jets pack, but I have got Bray Allen sitting on my bench in the 16-team league. So sort of hoping for a bit of more of a Breece Hall drop off, if anything, and that's probably more sort of just out of going for a fly there than anything.
Situational, mate. Situational. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what's interesting about him, Kev, is he was so touted last year. I know you were really on Breece Hall last year, and so injuries are injuries, and you can't forecast them. But also that offense, we expected just to have a completely different shape this year, right?
Yeah, definitely, Matty. Last year, I had the hot take that he finished as the RB1 overall, so that didn't exactly come to fruition, as we know. But yeah, people are a bit worried about Breece Hall with Justin Fields because they think Justin Fields doesn't check down. The Bears, when Justin Fields was there under Matt Nagy, they didn't check the ball down to the running back. Not Justin Fields. When he was at Pittsburgh those first 6 games, he led the entire league in check down percentage to the running back. Yeah. So it's not like he's averse to throwing the ball to the running back. And like a mobile quarterback opens things up for him. I did have him higher. I've got him at 15 now, but that's just because I do think Braylon Allen does see some work. Because I don't think they'll re-sign Breece Hall. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded at some point in the off-season. So, I still think he could be a very good player week to week. But, yeah, it's a bit of a sticky situation knowing exactly what they're going to do moving forward.
Their receiving core is not the most stellar, But man, I see that highlight of the Garrett Wilson catch against the Houston Texans in my sleep still. That one-handed, all stretched out like he's a starfish. It's amazing. I think about that all the time. He has been currently ranked between about 13 and 16 across major sites, which puts him at the end of the second round, start of the third round in drafts. You feel good about that value, Kev? You think he can outproduce it, or is that about right?
Matty, I have him at 10. Like, I think Garrett Wilson gets slept on year after year, but he's been very consistent with some very, very, very bad quarterbacks. Like,
oh my God,
week in, week out, year in, year out. Just, he is a phenomenal wide receiver, really, and I don't understand why people are so down on him. Just because the Jets' offense hasn't looked good. If you look at his numbers, he's looked very good every year. Like, he's had over 1,000 yards every year with what do you have? Zach Wilson,
yeah,
the ghost of Aaron Rodgers. Like,
yeah,
you know, I think he's in for a bumper year because if you look at his college stats with Fields as his quarterback as well. Fields absolutely loves him, and those two are just going to hit a bit of a symphony and a bit of a reconnection here. And I'm happy to take him as my first wide receiver if I go running back early in the draft.
Take him as your first. I love the confidence there, Kev, because I think people don't remember that there was that connection in college. But also, I mean, I was going to play the game with you. Can you name the best quarterback that Garrett Wilson has had as an NFL career? And mate, every answer is wrong. There is not a good quarterback amongst them. Even though you're about to talk first ballot Hall of Fame, if nothing else for Aaron Rodgers. But gee, yeah, it's the ghost of Aaron Rodgers he had last year. Outside of Garrett Wilson, I don't know that there's really anybody else in a 10-team league who I want.
There's not even another wide receiver I want in a friggin' 16-team league, let alone a 10-team league. It is just basically take a pot shot at a bucket of arseholes after that. Like,
yeah.
You know, they've got the rookie from last year, the Malachi Corley. They've got the ghost of Alan Lazard, and I'm not even sure who else is in that room.
I don't know if it's worth looking that up either. Dan, you haven't looked that up, have you? Get it out of your search history.
Yeah, like zombie Alan Lazard. It's not worth. It's a lot of scrolls to sort of find someone. Yeah, you might even recognise there. So it's a no from me, dog.
Yeah. So your confidence in Garrett Wilson, have you over time? So this is the thing I like about having you on with your background in more daily stuff is that there will be weeks where Garrett Wilson gets tremendous matchups, and there's likelihood that you might want to spend some money on him. But is he somebody you've sort of trotted out occasionally?
Generally, like I think his sort of price has been sort of a little overvalued to his production in the daily when I've sort of looked at him at daily. And like I said before, I really think that the Jets' sort of value is going to be in a run-heavy sort of offense and sort of using Fields on the run. So yeah, I'm not really sure where Wilson fits in my plans. Whether he probably sort of like drops a bit for me.
Yeah, and I just thought I was going to own more places, but I have not. Player who I have owned in a few places who we think is going to be the other pass-catching player in this team comes from a role that has existed for a while. We saw Tyler Conklin get 50 catches a year, 3 straight years. Like, not more than 50, not less than 50, 50. Surely Mason Taylor looks to project to be a better prospect than that. And I have never heard anybody spend more time talking about Mason Taylor. And I mean, I'm sure I've met the family at some point, but Kev loves him some Mason Taylor.
Mate, me and Taylor actually were both on Mason Taylor as soon as he got to the Jets.
Yeah,
we both basically said he's going to be the number 2 pass catcher in this offense. Fields, year in, year out, loves to target his tight end when he's scrambling across the middle of the field. Yeah. And I think he's probably the best tight end I can remember on the Jets in the last 4 or 5 years. So I think easily he's going to smash his value of where he's going at around tight end 18. I think I've got him at 12 last I checked. So
yeah, well, I mean, he is free at the moment in standard leagues. I don't even know that he went in our 16-teamer. I think he's still laying around. languishing next to broken Isaiah Likely. So he's free. And I think if you don't own him and you've kind of pinned your hopes on, I don't know, like I'm a bit higher than the world on guys like, Kyle Pitts. I think there's folks out there who will have wound up with a Dallas Goddard share or whatever because they don't know what to do. If you see that Mason Taylor's getting targets, that's the thing to do. Just watch the targets, go after the guy who's getting the opportunity. Hey, Danny, any Jets that we still need to mention, do you reckon?
Well, I was just going to say that I think Mason Taylor took Hunter Henry's 2 surnames, but...
Love that.
No, I think
Hunter Mason, Henry Taylor?
Yeah, I think there's 2 good tight ends right there as well.
They sound like a law firm, don't they? Just staple them all together. Mason Taylor currently... outside the top 15 at tight end. So it means you can just have him for free. No other late round flight. I feel like we even brought up Malachi fucking Corley. So I think we're in a good spot. We can move on and start talking about the Dolphins. Anyone object to that?
Nope. Let's go.
All right. Hey, Dan, can you give me your best impression of a dolphin? I knew you would play. I knew Kev would not, and I knew you would do it. Oh, I love this. I can't believe I tricked you into that. But they are a team who they really let us down last year, and I feel like you just made up for all of that in 1.5 seconds with your dolphin noise. Mate, Tua, he is polarizing as hell because I think there is a lot of positive sentiment that people want to see Tua get out and do well. But, mate, no one's drafting him. Why is that, Dan?
Yeah, look, I guess there's the injury. I mean, there's a lot going on in Miami at the moment, and it's not, the Tua stuff isn't great. But also when you're hearing stories about the 7-on-7 scrimmage with the Bears, and they're complaining about being tackled too hard. Does anyone really want a part of that?
Please tackle me.
Turns out that was just one Dolphins beat writer that started that, and no one else really backed him up. But he stuck to it that the Bears were just bullying him. So.
Kev's a Bears fan, by the way, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
It's the reveal. Mask is off. There you go.
It's a rough life.
Yeah.
Also a man who picks shite sports teams, by the way. Yeah, we love to suffer, don't we, Kev?
That's it. All my teams peaked in my childhood, basically.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like us, Dan, with dragons and everything. The Tua thing that, I think people genuinely want to see him play well. And do you think there's much hope for him, though?
It's me or Kev?
Okay,
go for it.
Yeah, I think people are probably a bit too down on Miami, regardless of the Tua stuff and the not wanting to be tackled stuff. Because we've seen this before. Like, it'll be fine I reckon they're probably going to have the same season that they have every other season. Tua will get concussed, miss like half dozen games. But, in the first half of the season, they'll light it up. You'll see Tyreek and Waddle sort of get fed, A-Chain look really good. And then, when it gets cold, they'll struggle again. So that's how I sort of feel the Miami season. It'll be pretty much like every other season we've seen over the last 5 years.
The last 20 years. That's a low estimate. Hey, Kev, people say things like, Tua's one head knock away from never playing football. Do you believe that level of it?
No, not really, Matty, but there's a reel going around on Instagram the other day that kind of describes how I feel about being stuck with drafting Tua. It's the scene from Suicide Squad where there's that wolfman licking the window, and it says when you've waited too long to draft a QB, and it says Tua, and it's got that wolfman licking the window. It's like, yeah, I feel pretty ordinary if that's where I got stuck at this point in the season, considering.
That's a visual, right? That'll be on the social media this week. That's a terrific visual. Look, we do think that there is some hope for this offense, but the problem is also their offensive line has taken a number of licks, which I think it's difficult for A-Chain. He only rushed for about 800 yards last year, even though he had the lion's share of what was going on there. But where his value came from was that he led all running backs in receptions. He had 80 receptions, which is, that's a good year for a wide receiver, to be honest. And he had the rushing work. Taylor is very fast to go. Yeah, but There is just no chance of him punching in rushing touchdowns because that line is terrible. You are going to have to see him catch him in the flat and run it in because he's agile as hell. Do you believe that, Kevin?
Oh, yeah, I can see where Taylor's coming from there. That offensive line isn't good, but I still have him ranked as my number 4 wide receiver in PPR. Half point PPR, though, yeah, I've got him around 9 or 10. Like, it's a bit of a struggle. But the Dolphins, like Tyreek said the other day, they need to use someone else to punch it in. They tried their other 2 running backs. They got friggin' nowhere as well. Like, I can't see them using anyone else that much.
Dan, have you got an opinion about A-Chain and how he looks this season? He's currently going as sort of about the 5th or 6th running back, so kind of end of the first round, start of the second round in standard drafts. Reckon that's a reasonable price to pay for it?
Yeah, you look at A-Chain, and I think he's sort of tied to a bit to Tua's health. You see sort of last year in the games that Tua missed were also the games that A-Chain struggled. So, and that makes sense if he's not able to punch it through, that he's sort of more reliant on the passing. So it is sort of like, you are sort of, I guess, buying into Tua's health if you're buying into A-Chain.
I really want to see Tua just stay healthy enough to get the ball out because Dan makes a great point here. Waddle, better when Tua's in. Tyreek was pretty much useless all year and it was super disappointing. But yeah, A-Chain had the most use when Tua was in. One, I think you've got a bit more to worry about because Tua's happy to sort of move around and stretch that pocket. It gives linebackers a thing to think about for a second. But the other thing I think that's interesting for that is that Tua, he gets the ball out quickly. They're very happy for him to work in flats, and it's all about speed. That offense get the ball in people's hands in space and let them go. So if he can stay healthy, that is a good prognosis for those guys. Man, Tyreek Hill, he finished languishing at wide receiver last year. This year, I don't know. Do you think it's value that you can get him at wide receiver 19, Kev? Anywhere between about 15 and 19?
Yeah, look, I think he's a brilliant shot in best ball because we know what he can do when he hits his stride. My big concern is he going to have the time to get those deep balls out this year? Like I'd probably rather take a shot at Jalen Waddle than Tyreek in most drafts this year, just because I think the departure of John A. Smith opens up that short area game for Jalen Waddle playing out of the slot a lot more than Tyreek really taking the top off compared to years past.
I mean, that's the fun thing about Tyreek, right? Watch him run, launch it out there, and let him run under it, Dan, right? That's what we've seen from Tyreek for 7 years.
Oh, yeah, and probably round 1 daily, I'll probably have a lineup with Tua and Tyreek in it just because, it's a week 1, just brilliant set to have normally because, it's warm weather. I think, I don't know who they won this year, but, it's just, flat track and they'll just bully you around.
So, look, aside from Jalen Waddle, who we know he's going to be involved and his value is in PPR because he's close to the line, he receives in close and he makes with his legs as well. There's really not a lot of other great options there. We saw Johnny Smith, who became really relevant last year. Now all of a sudden he's in Pittsburgh and they go and sign ex-tight end, ex-rapper, Darren Waller. Hey, Dan, did you either start Darren Waller anywhere recently or buy one of his albums?
Who's bought an album in the last 15 years? That's my question back to you.
Okay. Yeah, wow. I don't even know how to respond.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming that's a no to both. Thanks.
Yeah, 2 no's from you.
Yeah, 2 no's. No deal. Yep. Kev, we've got no faith that Darren Waller's doing much there, right?
No. Now, when they traded away Jono, I bumped Jalen Waddle right up in my rankings, and the signing of Darren Waller did nothing to push him back down. I've got, zero interest in Darren Waller this year.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the only late-round flyer I've got to see for the Dolphins is that there's some folks out there sort of spruiking them like Washington bandwagon. Kev, is there anyone else you think is worth mentioning here? We've kind of covered the big guys.
No, not really. Not that I can really put my finger on outside of Waddle Hill and Devon A-Chain. I can't really see anybody I'd really bother drafting, especially in a 10 or 12 team league.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, where we get deeper is because so many folks play super flex, so it is worth talking about some of the later quarterbacks. But I mean, yeah, there's not a heap else going on there. So let's move on from the Dolphins. I'm not going to make Dan make that sound again. That was amazing radio. Hey, Kev, what does a bill sound like?
What's the sound of a table being crashed through?
Yeah, there we go. Here we go. I heard you've done a bit of falling lately, mate. You might be quite good at that.
I wish there was a table there.
Jesus, mate. And for those who are in the inner sanctum a bit, we're all wishing you a good recovery on that because we know you've been in a bit of discomfort, mate. The Bills are a team who have got very few things to be uncomfortable about with their quarterback. Josh Allen is everywhere. He is quarterback 1 or 2. What's your flavour, Kev? Do you have him 1 or 2?
Yeah, I have him 1. I think he's just... that's an offense that loves to spread the ball around. He loves to run the ball as well. Like I tried to put Lamar at 1, and I still came out with Josh at 1 for me this year. So, yeah, basically, if I'm in a super flex and I've got the 1.01, I'm probably taking Allen or Jamar Chase. But yeah, that's about it.
Well, thank God you said that because we did a Superflex 14-team league draft just this week, and I had 101 and I took Jamar Chase. So I'm glad that you threw him in there because I'm like, oh, well, I'm an idiot. So I'm glad you've redeemed me, mate. Hey, Dan, do you care which one of these two you get if you had first crack at the quarterback?
I'd probably take Lamar over Josh. But, it's... it's
a flavour thing.
If I had to gun to the head, I'd take Lamar over, but it's Josh Allen, right?
Right? I mean, this is a guy who scored a dozen touchdowns on the ground last year, plus he throws for 4,000 yards. So you know that the value's there, right? There's not a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, maybe you like Lamar's weapons a bit more to what Buffalo's got, but yeah, it's really sort of splitting hairs to some degree.
A little bit. I want to stick with you, though, and we'll talk a little bit of wide receiver because I think this is kind of a funny thing where we've got this quarterback who's ranked all the way up here. How far do you have to scroll down the page before you found a Buffalo receiver?
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Isn't that weird, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think?
Well, mate, I don't pick the teams. It's
because his wide receivers are shit, mate. The top one you might run into is, Khalil Shakir, and then very soon after him, Keon Coleman. They kind of seem to be, everyone kind of agrees they're kind of it in terms of the wide receivers. Hey, Kev, do you have a particular leaning one way or the other? They're both kind of ranked as wide receiver 4s.
Yeah, I lean Keon Coleman. His draft profiled him to be a really, really good receiver. The Bills took him straight away in that second round, and their coach McDermott, he is notorious for not really trusting rookies. So I think he could be poised for a bit of a breakout this year. If I'm on the clock and I need a flex receiver or a bench receiver, and Shakir and Coleman are there, I'm probably going to take the upside pick of Coleman over Shakir.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who will look at it the other way and just go, hey, well, we've seen a bit of a track record of Shakir getting the targets and getting the touchdowns. So I don't mind that people are throwing some weight behind that. But, there was definitely a bit of a logjam at wide receiver last year, and Keon Coleman did not get a lot of run. But also we've seen McDermott has been very shy of running his rookie wide receivers out there too early. He didn't have that sort of problem with his tight end Kincaid. So let's throw him in the mix now, and let's just talk about pass catches as a whole, because I feel like there's a real great chance that Kincaid, who had a very down year after a great rookie campaign, then all of a sudden had a very down year, plays a bit more of a significant role this year. If you had to rank those 3, Dan, you have a particular order you'd like to own any of them in?
I'd probably go Coleman, Shakir, Kincaid in that order, my brother.
Yeah. Connors unite.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat there too.
Yep, Connors unite.
I mean, like you say, Coleman, you're probably going to see his target share grow over the next 12 months. So that's obviously going to come from somewhere. Probably Shakir probably drops down a bit, and Kincaid probably doesn't see a lot of change. So,
Kev, can you poke any holes in that? It sounds pretty.
No, I basically was in the exact same boat, really. Dalton Kincaid, in his defence, he does get a good target share for a tight end. But for some reason, when Josh Allen targets him, the catchable percentage rate is a fair bit lower than most tight ends across the league. I don't know whether that's something to do with the coverage or maybe Josh is, scrambling out a little bit. But, I think the upside to take a shot on Kincaid is still there if you've waited on the position. You grab him and, a Mason Taylor or a Kyle Pitts or someone and just play them week by week on the matchup.
The running back situation is super clear cut, right? There are two guys. There is James Cook, and then there's also the emergence of Ray Davis last year was kind of interesting. James Cook scored a lot of touchdowns, but there was a lot of snaps that weren't James Cook's. Ray Davis and Ty Johnson took up a bunch of that, and Ray Davis projects to really eat up a bunch of that void, Kev.
Yeah, the Bills' running back room's a bit of a tough one to swallow. I'm quite happy to take a shot on Ray Davis late in drafts, sit on my bench and see how it pans out. But if I get to a point where I'm drafting and James Cook's there on the board and I need a running back too for my team, I'm quite happy to take him as well because we've seen what he can do. He's quite explosive and, I think he's also a bit of an underrated pass-catching running back as well, something most people don't think about with him either.
He is not too dissimilar from his brother Dalvin in terms of that he does have the dual skill set. He was largely relied on to bash it in last year than to catch it and run it in. But Dan, you and I surely we align on the James Cook thing. We've got a cousin called James Cook.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be honest with you. I had not have heard of Ray Davis before you mentioned him not 30 seconds ago. So.
And like to me, that is the thing, right? You're going to draft James Cook, and if you're kind of kicking around the scrap barrel at the bottom, you're going to go looking at people's stats and go, Ray Davis saw some field, he's still there. That's my relationship with Ray Davis.
Yeah, but even Ty Johnson had a little bit of run there last year too. Like it was a running back room that I think was a little bit all over the place with the majority going to Cook, and I think it stays the same this year too.
The only thing that people have a little bit of confusion about too with Cook is that he did this holdout thing, and then people get all nervous about a running back who holds out any part of the preseason process and then how they hit the field in the early part of the year. I don't know. I just don't have those worries about Cook. I don't think he can lose share in the backfield. I think he kind of only stands to gain it from last year. So I'm all in on Cook. He is currently ranked by most sites in that middle part of running back 2. I can push him up a bit. I'll put him at 11 because I'm a bit of a fan of his pass catching, and I think he was underutilized there. And knowing that our top wide receivers are all ranked in the 30s to 40s, I don't mind a little bit of a slice of James Cook picking up some of that void. The Bills are really uncomplicated, aren't they? Is there anyone we want to throw in as a late round flyer before you wrap this puppy up like a fajita?
No, I don't really think there is one, Matty. Like I did my hot takes and sent them to you at the start of the year. I had no Bills pass catcher getting over 1,000 yards, but that's because I could see, 700 yards to Kincaid, 600 to James Cook out of the backfield, 800 to Coleman. Like it all just kind of adds up. They're a very share the ball around sort of an offense.
Yeah, without Diggs there's no big dog, and I don't think they mind that because then as soon as Diggs wasn't there, things kind of, I don't know, for the football team seemed to clear up. It makes it trickier for us fantasy guys when there isn't a big dog, so that's kind of a bit tough. But look, at the end of it all, we've managed to sail the AFC East, and that'll do it for Friday. We have the G'day Gridiron guys going to come through tomorrow, and they're going to give us the NFL analysis version of the same division, but they're also going to go ahead and give us the NFL analysis of the NFC East. Then we're going to be back on Sunday to give the fantasy analysis for the NFC East as well. I feel like I can rely on you two lads to come back for that. Let's screw Taylor. Give him the week off. Let's bring the band back together.
Yep, I'm keen. I've got nothing better to do.
I like that. Hey, Dan, you in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Love it. We'll also dive into the mailbag, so get your questions in too. You can drop them in at Aussie NFL Fantasy on the Instagram. You can also find at Taylor41 or at Matty Podcast. Fellas, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back for the Sunday show. thanks again for all your input. We've gone through 4 teams really quickly. We're going to do the same with the East. And Dan, we're going to get to talk about your not problematically named team. Sound good?
Let's drop some C-bombs.
Let's do it. All right, Kev, I'll see you on Sunday as well. Hooroo.
Roger.
Peace out.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Thanks to the Aussie Gridiron Network, Australia's home for NFL and Australian gridiron content. Discover everything the network has to offer, including G'day Gridiron, Pastry Press, NFL, and Aussie Gridiron Today. Buy merch and win free stuff. Visit the mothership at linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Hooroo.